Rishi Sunak claimed the country needed to ditch the last 30 years of broken politics and that he would be the change. The problem is, of course, someone who was listening to his conference speech might well feel that the change they want is a brand new government. Speaking to Tom Swarbrick, the Prime Minister described how he believed the change would happen. What he said was he would axe HS2. He said he would boost rail lines in the north, most of which was unpicked within a few hours by the Labour Party and other critics. It's a risky strategy, I think you and I can all agree. Now, before Rishi confirmed that he was slashing the Birmingham to Manchester leg of HS2, I think it's fair to say that he was outshone by a string of cameo appearances. There was Liz Truss, who unbelievably, I say unbelievable because, let's face it, she crashed the economy. Nevertheless, she unbelievably, to a packed room, decided to launch her decidedly Trumpian leadership bid with the hashtag Make Britain Great Again.
So there are three things we can do. We can axe the tax, we can cut the bills, and we can build the homes. But I'm under no illusion. I don't think this is necessarily easy for us to do. It's difficult. But we need to be prepared to do the difficult things because that is what will make Britain grow again. And all of the people...
Suella Braverman, fresh from her rather fetching blow-dry, I think we can all agree, to another packed room, made her leadership bid with the address that had, I would say, shades of Enoch Powell.
The wind of change that carried my own parents across the globe in the 20th century was a mere gust compared to the hurricane that is coming.
I mean, I know I shouldn't laugh, but... Anyway, meanwhile, whipping up a storm was sword carrier-in-chief and another possible leadership contender, Penny Mordaunt, in what can only be described as a swashbuckling.
Stand up and fight. Because when you stand up and fight, the person beside you stands up and fights. And when our party stands up and fights, the nation stands up and fights. And when our nation stands up and fights, other nations stand up and fight. And they stand up and fight.
It's really hard to read this script, I'm telling you. I wrote it prior to coming on air. Having heard all of those clips together, I mean, I know at the moment I've been taking a lot of medicine, a lot of paracetamol, a lot of Nurofen to make it in today. But I tell you what, at one point when I heard that clip, I actually thought I was hallucinating. I was lying on the sofa under a duvet. Can we just play it again, Alex?
Stand up and fight. Because when you stand up and fight, the person beside you stands up and fights. And when our party stands up and fights, the nation stands up and fights. And when our nation stands up and fights, other nations stand up and fight.
What is she talking about? Anyway, worse still, Sunak had foisted on him the worst optics of all. That being Nigel Farage turning up to the conference, later filmed dancing with former Home Secretary Dame Priti Patel at a party. By the way, she refused to answer any questions about it the next morning. In subsequent interviews, Sunak then goes on and fails to rule out Farage rejoining the Tory parties. In my view, what an absolute abysmal failure of leadership by Rishi Sunak. Honestly, if I was a Conservative member or a Conservative voter, I would be very, very worried had I seen all of those antics. The party to me looks fractious, it looks exhausted. Sunak doesn't look like he's in control. He started, didn't he, making personal attacks on Starmer, which number one shows that he is weak and he's worried about Starmer. And then he rolls out his wife to make him look like a human being. I mean, what an absolute mess. Rishi Sunak says that he wants to be the candidate of change. Well, quite frankly, after that week, what most people, I think, will be thinking is what we would really like to see is a change of government. What do you think? I'd like your post-match analysis, please, of what you saw at the Conservative Party conference. Lines are open now, 0345 6060973, or you can text 84850. With his post-match analysis, I'm pleased to say that the Deputy Political Editor at the Financial Times, Jim Pickard, is with me. Oh, wow. What a week.
I think, to be fair to Rishi Sunak, it's pretty normal for political leaders to wheel out their reluctant spouses during party conference season. I think that's fairly normal. And to be fair to Penny Mordaunt, maybe she'd had a sherry or two before going on the stage. Who knows? But I think what you can see, the pattern you can see happening over the last 6 weeks or so, is that you can see a party which is basically doubling down on messages designed to appeal to the Conservative Party base. So all this stuff about loving motorists, all this stuff about backtracking on actual measures to get us to net zero, and a sort of increase in rhetoric about immigration and that kind of thing. It's all basically aimed at people who they think used to vote Conservative but could be going elsewhere.